Hello everybody and welcome to Redmen TV and your latest Liverpool news update. My name is Dan Clubb and I'm here to run through all the latest news stories involving the Reds and have a good old chat about them as well. Let me know what we're thinking. Any questions you want to ask me along the way, I will be more than happy to answer them as well. Happy New Year as well to everybody. I think it's just about okay to still say that on the 4th of January. Sounds, yeah. Let's do this. Straight into it. I'll come into the comments before I get us started on the news. Darth Chungus asks, how are we? I'm sound, mate. I hope the same applies to you. Tom Darby, all in good time, my mate. Thank you very much as well. Much appreciated. Yeah, hope I've had a good Christmas. Hoping I've had a good New Year and we are ready to go again. Not a bad Christmas, all told, for the Reds, of course. Sitting top of the pile. Sitting pretty at the top of the pile. FA Cup third round to come. Carabao Cup semi-finals to come, and only a couple of Premier League games as well over the course of January. So it's looking pretty rosy. I want to get some takes really on some transfer stuff because it's interesting. Obviously, now we have entered January. A lot of the talk has already turned to, can Liverpool, do Liverpool need to do anything in this window? I want to know what you guys think, because it feels to me, and I've said this a few times, it feels to me like Liverpool, we can go and do whatever we want this season. Like, we've already proven that we're good enough to maintain a title challenge, to sort of be involved in the title race come the end of the season. But it does also feel like we're on the cusp of something potentially brilliant. And is there a little piece of business we could do between now and the end of the month that would sort of push us on to the next level, or sort of confirm our place in this conversation potentially as well? And I think it's interesting. Obviously, injuries have already played a part in people's thinking, and they could continue to do so over the course of the next few weeks. But yeah, interesting conversations to be had. I want to pop into the comments before I do head into the news. Jimmy Endicott says, might not be top of the world, but we are top of the league. Yeah, it's not all too bad. Finley Quayle, how are we? Yeah, Sam, mate, I'm good. Hopefully the same applies. Absolutely nothing on Dom Szoboszlai yet. I mentioned a moment ago sort of injuries playing a part in these conversations. Szoboszlai is another one where that is the case for. I'm not necessarily suggesting we're going to do any business in January because of Szoboszlai's hamstring problem it was. But what that does do is it creates another problem, because I was of the opinion that Harvey Elliott might be the guy to go out and play right wing while Salah's away. Now Harvey Elliott's probably going to have to play that right-sided 8 role, so it opens up another issue as to who does the right wing stuff. Yeah, but anyway, it is complicated. Loads of moving parts. But yeah, we'll attempt to solve some of these problems over the course of the next half an hour or so. Craig Flynn, up the veg and never walk alone. Hello, my mate. Hope you are well. Thank you very much as well. To all those wishing Happy New Year. I also hope we win the league. Lee Guy, good afternoon, mate. Darth Chungus returns to be definitely the centre half, which does tie in nicely. Oh, Finley Quayle says definitely number 6 and the replacement for Matip. Yeah, the number 6 stuff's interesting. I have sort of allayed my own fears about the number 6. I think Wataru Endo's rise in that role over the last few weeks in particular, I'm fully aware, obviously he's off to the Asia Cup now, so we're not going to see him for a little while. But I think the job he's done in there over recent weeks, and what the back end of McAllister looked like doing it as well, I'm okay with that position. Now, don't get me wrong, like if we went and did the Andre one, or even João Palhinha, although I've got my own opinion on Palhinha, I'm not quite sure he is the answer. Or I'm not quite sure he's what Liverpool will do in terms of the answer. I'd be made up if we went and did a bit of number 6 business. But in terms of my preference now, I've just slightly shifted, and it's more the Matip replacement, which somebody else mentions. I think that might be more important personally. But anyway, let's get into it. And we begin with transfer news, of course, and it comes from Gonzalo Inacio, and it comes from, I want to say Jorge or George das Transfer Encias. That is not an easy word to pronounce. And it basically claims, just comes from Twitter, it says Liverpool have sent a 30 million proposal for Gonzalo Inacio. They are the club most interested in the young Portuguese player. Now, a couple of things to unpack from that. Gonzalo Inacio is not a new name when it comes to Liverpool transfers. He has been very much on the radar for some time now. It started really in the summer, quite early on, and has never truly gone away. Now, 30 million, clearly money won't get the job done. There's no two ways about that. He signed a new contract in the summer. His release clause is now double that in euros. It's 60 million euros, which is around the £52 million mark, something like that. And the fact he has a release clause is clearly a positive from a Liverpool point of view, because there are some conversations in the past week or so and people say, well, who's available? Who are you going to get? Well, when a fella is there with a release clause, he's clearly available at a certain price. So Inacio does make a lot of sense to me. It's interesting seeing Fabrizio Romano talking about Liverpool's interest in Inacio as well. And he essentially said Liverpool have scouted him for a long time. He goes on to say nothing concrete just yet. But I don't know what we're thinking about this one. For me, I mentioned it there. I think he makes a lot of sense. I had a conversation with Aaron Barton yesterday, who knows the Portuguese Primeira Liga like the back of his hand, and he spoke very highly of Gonçalo Inacio. He essentially said it's no surprise that Liverpool, Arsenal, those clubs, those type of clubs, the best clubs really, are interested in him because the style of play suits that. He suits a possession-based football team, a team that's going to be very dominant. And that's not to say he can't do it from a defensive standpoint, because he definitely can. Just a lot of his strengths lie in the way he uses the ball. A lot of his strengths lie in sort of recovery defending when it's needed. And I think from a Liverpool angle, that makes loads of sense. Now, whenever we speak about him, people sort of touch on the fact he's left-footed and therefore can naturally play left-back. That isn't strictly true, because it's not something he's actually done before. But he does play in the left-sided of a three a lot for Sporting. So when he is playing left-back and Trent wanders into midfield, like he obviously does a lot now, he essentially would become the left-sided three anyway, like Andy Robertson was doing, like Tsimikas was doing prior to both of their injuries. So, and like Joe Gomez is doing a little bit now, of course. Although I think since Gomez has become the left-back, Trent's been slightly more reluctant to wander into midfield. He feels like he's playing a little bit more of a natural right-back role, which I think actually makes a lot of sense in certain games. Andy Murphy says, centre-back required all day long, otherwise you're happy. Yeah, I think you're right. James Stevens doesn't think we're going to do any business this month. We're going to win 3 trophies. Which 3, mate? Wow, okay. Despite no business. And listen, as I said earlier at the top of the show, Liverpool at the current rate and with this current crop of players are more than capable of winning every single competition that we're in. I have no doubt about that. I'm actually least confident about the FA Cup just because of the timing of this game. Obviously, the fact is Arsenal away. Arsenal's poor run of form means they're probably going to need a performance, certainly at home, because there'll be 3 defeats back-to-back if they were to get knocked out by us at the weekend. And also the fact that we're slightly lighter now in terms of the squad. We need to sort of rest and rotate players. We've got important games coming, obviously a Carabao Cup semi-final on the horizon as well. I think this Arsenal fixture is a bit of a nightmare one from a Liverpool point of view. It would have been nice to have had, even at home would have been nice, but would have been nice to have had one of the lower league sides at home, because then you can rest and rotate the side anyway and potentially still get through. It's just a little bit complicated, isn't it, having Arsenal. Honesty Hortensia says, I hope we get Inacio. We need the depth in defence, because how good Inacio is. He is injury prone. We don't know if Matip will be with. I think Matip will stick around. Liverpool will definitely sort of do right by Joel Matip, I think it's fair to say, in terms of they'll give him a new deal to at least oversee his rehabilitation and get him back up and running. They won't sort of send him off and say, oh yeah, good luck getting back fit, mate. They'll certainly get him back fit. I'm positive of that. But generally speaking, I think you're right. I think Joel Matip's days as a Liverpool first choice centre-back are probably done, I think it's fair to say. You might get a little bit out of him, potentially the second half of next season, but outside of that, I'm not sure we're ever going to see Joel Matip become a regular for Liverpool again. So therefore, you need to be replacing him. And Joel Quansah, you know, he's been absolutely outstanding. However, he's still learning on the job. You've got fitness issues with Canate. They're not going away anytime soon, it doesn't look like. Joe Gomez has completely turned the corner in his Liverpool career. There's no two ways about that. But with him, it's fitness, and it's the fact he's so versatile. You can't have him covering your right back, your left back and your centre half. It just doesn't make sense, because when he's covering one of them, he can't be doing the other one. So I personally would absolutely be going and doing a bit of business in this window. I'd be fast forwarding what we're probably going to do in the summer in terms of a centre-half, I'd be doing it now. And Liverpool haven't been adverse to doing that in recent years. You know, we've seen Luis Diaz get brought forward. We've seen Cody Gakpo get brought forward for different reasons. But Liverpool will do that if we think it's necessary. So, yeah, I'd be doing it, personally. Jeff McKay, I apologise. First time watching a live show. Aussie Red losing sleep watching Liverpool at 3 a.m. since 2006. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. And, yeah, welcome to your first live. And welcome to getting involved as well. It's a pleasure to have you on board. Lee Guy says, any news on Robbo? No, not since the last update on that, to be honest with you, mate. I think we're looking at the back end of this month. Shoulders are an interesting one, aren't they? And it's a similar case with Simicast, actually, in a lot of senses, which I'll touch on in a minute, because you can do a lot of the fitness work. You can stay relatively fit when you've got a dislocated shoulder, because once it's sort of stable enough, you can do some of the running stuff. You can keep yourself relatively active. What you can't do is any contact stuff. You can't start playing footy. You can do your passing drills and all that type of thing, but you can't go 50-50 with anyone. You can't get a knock on it, etc., because all you'll do is you set yourself back. So the Robertson one feels as though as soon as he's got the all clear in terms of getting back involved in training, it won't take him that long to get back up to speed. He'll probably need 1, maybe 2, possibly 3 sessions, and all of a sudden he'll be available again. It's not like a muscle injury in the leg, the thigh, the calf, whatever, whereby you'll need that time to get back up to speed. He won't take long, it doesn't feel like, to be, okay, you've got your full range of motion back now, we're perfectly happy that your shoulder's fine, on you go. It should be quite quick, which is good news, obviously. I did see James Pearce provided an update on the Kostas-Tsimikas situation, and it was relatively positive. I think he said back end of February, potentially early March. So anyone who was doubting whether we see Tsimikas again this season, I don't think that's going to be the case, which is good, because I think we've all been pretty pleased with his positive impact whilst covering for Andy Robertson. I think he was pretty good, personally. Yeah, Kev Sullivan, O'Sullivan rather, says, hopefully, Dom, with similar type of muscle fatigue as Gravenberch suffered. Yeah, because the Gravenberch one turned out to be something and nothing, didn't it? I did see Szoboszlai, when he left the pitch, was holding on. I think it was his left hamstring, quite high up on his left hamstring as well. And Klopp did confirm afterwards that there was an issue there. His press conference, Jurgen Klopp, I think is scheduled for 11 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll find out more on Szoboszlai's situation. He's probably had a scan, but I've heard absolutely nothing on it whatsoever. But again, the schedule in January is relatively kind for lots of reasons, because if you have got people missing, like Szoboszlai, Andy Robertson, Kostas-Tsimikas, there's obviously games, but the cup games predominantly. Our next Premier League game is not for another 17 days, and that comes against Bournemouth, which in itself is a problem because Bournemouth are playing well at the minute. But Dom Szoboszlai, would he have played Arsenal away anyway? Potentially not. So you just go with what you're doing regardless. You go Harvey Elliott. You can afford to make a few more changes. There's still games you want to win, of course they are. But is it the end of the world if you have to do a bit of rotation? Probably not. James Stevens says he would go Louis on the right, Darwin on the left. I assume this is the cover for Mohamed Salah. Diaz on the right. I'll be honest, I don't love any of our attacking options on the right-hand side, apart from Mohamed Salah, of course, the senior lads. And our firepower is ridiculous. Like, what sets us apart from Arsenal and Man City, in my opinion, is the goals we have in terms of the attacking department. No one's got the plethora of options that Liverpool possess right now. We're blessed, really, in that sense. But none of them really suit the right-hand side. I actually think Jota is perhaps the most suited. I was really keen for it to be Harvey Elliott, but as I said earlier, the fact that Szoboszlai's now got a problem, whatever that looks like, means we're probably going to need him in midfield. Zubimendi and Elise at the end. A lot of people are mentioning Michael Elise to me in recent weeks. And I think he's one who will almost certainly be on the move at some point. It'd be interesting whether that coincides with Mohamed Salah leaving Liverpool Football Club, if that ever does happen, of course. But yeah, a lot of people talk about Michael Elise. I've seen he was linked to Man United as well in the past couple of days. Bowser Jr. says, bring back Bobby. Well, he's back. He's on Liverpool. He's in Merseyside. I think he's doing a book signing at some point as well. But he was at Anfield, of course, to see us absolutely destroy Newcastle United in what was a flattering 2-goal margin in terms of Newcastle's sake anyway, because that was an absolutely dominant performance from the Reds. But yeah, this is Michael Elise. I think another one, Russell Stubley. Elise would be great with Salah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are already got one eye on what comes next after Mohamed Salah. But on that note, we might not have to worry about it for a little while yet, because there is a report from Football Transfers that Salah is moving towards a Liverpool contract extension. So it says get that right. Mohamed Salah is inching closer to signing a new contract with the club. Football Transfers can reveal the winger is now leaning towards a new extension, quashing speculation about a potential move to Saudi Arabia this year. And it goes on to say Liverpool have enjoyed a superb campaign, etc., etc. But of course, the headline there is Mohamed Salah could sign a new deal with the Reds. Now, I think we'd all be absolutely overjoyed with that, wouldn't we? There's no two ways about it. He continues to just defy logic. He continues to silence the critics and just perform absolutely outstandingly. Even when he's not playing well, Mohamed Salah continues to put up crazy, crazy numbers. I mean, 18 goals and 9 assists in 27 appearances this season. Just remarkable. Once again at Newcastle, misses that penalty, of course, early doors, not having the best of nights, and finishes the game with, 2 goals and an assist. Just ridiculous. And a pre-assist, which was delightful for Diogo Jota, who then set up Curtis Jones as well. Just influence knows no bounds on Liverpool Football Club, quite frankly. But obviously it's difficult, the Salah conversation, because there were times last summer, I'm going to be dead honest, it felt like we was going. It just did. I remember it was an Europa League draw day and the news broke that there was like £150 million potentially coming on the table. And I don't think Liverpool were ever likely to sort of cash in on Mo Salah at that point. But when there was murmurings of 200, 220, 250 million, you were like, Liverpool's ownership model at some point needs to sell a high value footballer if it's going to become sustainable or remain sustainable. Liverpool haven't been great at selling footballers in recent times. We've let a lot of big players go for not a lot of money. Gini Wijnaldum, Sadio Mane have all left the club for not their market value, let's put it that way. Now, Mohamed Salah is one of the few players now, certainly with the Saudi stuff and the crazy money they're willing to fork out on what has been some bang average players. That gives Liverpool and other clubs an opportunity to get market value and some for some of their players. I think we've seen that with Fabinho a little bit, although I think Fabinho's valuation, 40 million, was about right. Jordan Henderson, maybe we got a little bit more than what we could have done for him. Possibly, I think is also about right. But a lot of clubs have been adding a bit of Saudi tax on selling their footballers. Now with Salah, the thing with him is you're not going to get 150, 200 million pounds from any other club in Europe this summer coming, because he's only going to have 12 months left on his current deal. Whereas Saudi don't care about that. They'll just pay the money because they're desperate to have Mohamed Salah in their football league. I obviously don't want to sell him, because once again this season he's proven to be an absolute miracle man, like a genius, one of the best footballers in the world. But from a business perspective, if you aren't going to tie him down to a new deal, and if he doesn't want a new deal, or Liverpool aren't willing to give him a new deal, whatever way about that comes, you cannot let Mohamed Salah leave Liverpool Football Club for free. It's just not possible. Now, from a football sense, of course you can, because you get another 12 months out of him. He continues to be brilliant. He is evergreen. He's showing no signs of deteriorating whatsoever. So, of course you can. However, from a business point of view, you just can't do it. It doesn't make any sense. It's mental, absolutely mental. And what it does, if you were to do that, is it creates problems further down the line. It's all well and good saying we'll get 12 months out of him, he'll score loads of goals, we'll be boss, happy days. But then you're 150, 200 million pounds short in terms of what you could be doing. So it's such a difficult conversation, it really does. But listen, ultimately, the report says he could sign a new contract for Liverpool. That's brilliant news. That's what we all want to happen. Of course it does. I'll pop into the chat now, see what people are thinking. I mean, listen, I know what we're all thinking. We all want Mohamed Salah to stay, and ideally forever. However, is that possible? Is it feasible? He's already the highest earner at Liverpool Football Club. Do you give him in a contract extension of 1 year, 2 years? Is that on more money, the same money, less money? It's so tough. It really is. Stephen Saunders says a very similar thing. Sign or sell, simple as that. Yeah, sign a new contract. or you have to sell him. Tony Phillips says, selling Salah, you could not recover that 100 million or replace him. Mbappe, Salah. Yeah, Mbappe is not a conversation for me in all of this. Would I take him? Of course, yes. But he doesn't even come into the reckoning, I don't think. We've got Johan Bakayoko, yeah. He's been lighting up again for PSV, I've noticed, and he was linked earlier on this summer as potential replacements. What I will say on that is I've seen a couple of people mention Jarrod Bowen. Michael Leake says he's probably one of the candidates, I would say. Nathan Weiss says Saka. He's not in form at the moment, is he? But I think ultimately he will be a definite option for me. But yeah, what I would say is, if Liverpool were to ever cash in, sell Mohamed Salah, whatever way you want to put it, I'm absolutely certain we will be going for somebody younger who could develop into something like Mohamed Salah, which I'm aware is nigh on impossible to imagine because the guy has been unbelievable for Liverpool Football Club. Nigel Smith says Pedro Neto. I really like Neto, but his injury problems do not go away, do they? I seen he came back over the Christmas period for Wolves after yet another lengthy layoff. Yeah, I'm not sure about that. At least say more people saying. I think, again, I've seen a couple of Bowens. I really like Jarrod Bowen. I just think that window of opportunity to make that move might have gone. I think he's 26 now, potentially 27. West Ham are going to demand upwards of 80 million, you would imagine. I don't think Liverpool buy... Here we go. This is weird. I'm literally saying this as this comments come on my screen. I don't think Liverpool buy the finished article to replace Mohamed Salah. I think we go for somebody younger who could, again, develop and learn and grow into something potentially brilliant. Les Caller suggests Michael Ise or Eberici Eze. And Vase of Flowers. So all I want for Christmas, for New Year, is a left-sided centre-back. Yeah, you could get yourself Gonzalo Inacio for around the £52 million mark if you've got that knocking around. I've seen somebody ask about the live shows in London. I just want to try and find that before. There we go. Yeah, there's a live show in London. What's the programme? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean like what will be happening? Loads of good stuff, loads of fun stuff. To be conversations, I imagine some sort of Q&A. I don't fully know, and you can probably tell by the way I'm speaking, but it'll be brilliant, as will the shows in Belfast and Dublin. So yeah, make sure you check them out. All tickets available now on Ticketmaster. So yeah, make sure you check them out. Darth Jungus returns, says, I think Bowen would be class for us, can play in any position up front and scores goals. Yeah, absolutely he does, yeah. And I think he's a brilliant footballer, absolutely brilliant footballer, and the type of player that would suit Liverpool down to the ground. We know already Jurgen Klopp's a big fan of his. But I think if we were having this conversation 2 seasons ago, maybe 2 or 3 seasons ago, and for whatever reason Salah would have left then, maybe to Real Madrid, maybe to Barcelona, then yeah, Bowen would be the ideal replacement. I just think that ship sailed slightly, and that's not to say he's not still brilliant, because he absolutely is. But by the time we're going to need to replace Mohamed Salah, Bowen's going to be 6 months older, potentially, if Salah does indeed go. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Sarah B, I mean, yes, this. I'm interested, that's what we all hope, and I hope that, but is that what we all think? Because there's just something in me, I don't know what it is, it's like this inbuilt nagging doubt that that's not going to be the case. And I could be wrong, he clearly loves Liverpool Football Club, he absolutely adores us, and he adores us being successful. You can see what it means to him every single time he steps on the pitch, puts on that shirt, scores a goal, whatever, which is a lot, by the way, a hell of a lot. And I've run out of superlatives to describe that man. He is an absolute world-class footballer, underrated as well somehow by millions of people, which is utterly baffling to me. I've seen even this morning people saying all he does is shoot. It's just utter nonsense. The guy is incredible. But do we think he's going to stay at Liverpool forever? Do we think he's going to sign this new contract that we're talking about? I don't know. Does he even fancy the Saudi League? It hasn't exactly turned out to be this all glittery, all shiny football league that we thought it was going to be. I mean, let's be honest, like without doing it any sort of disservice, some of the games have been real damn squibs. Like some of the attendances have been really poor as well. I don't think anybody is really that impressed with the Saudi Pro League, despite the millions of pounds spent and some of the glittering stars he took over there. It's not really took off, has it? I think it's fair to say. And will Mohamed Salah and will other players be looking at that and going, Yeah, I don't fancy that just yet. Don't get me wrong, Salah would be the jewel in the crown of the Saudi Pro League. There's no two ways about that. You can have your Neymars, you can have your Cristiano Ronaldos, both global superstars, of course they are. But when it comes to the Saudi Pro League, Mohamed Salah is the one. And that's what adds to my doubt or my concern about him leaving. Because even in the summer when this all started, they're going to be so desperate to make this happen. And they will be again next summer, that something within me just thinks he's going to go eventually, isn't he? You know what I mean? Anyway. Eat, sleep, heal. But is Salah worth two in the bush? I know the phrase. I don't know what that means in the context of it. Lee Guy said, do you think Jurgen Klopp will have a statue built to him outside the ground when he eventually leaves? Ooh, that's a good question. Sitting here right now, if you ask me if he deserves one, I'd probably say yes. But that might be just sort of my absolute love for the man that's sort of overriding my feelings there, because some Liverpool legends have been and gone and not had statues yet, Steven Gerrard being one of them. Possibly add a few more trophies to the collection, and I think it's an absolute no-brainer, nailed on. But yeah, let's just see. And Les Corlett makes the point as well about the Saudi Pro League. Yeah, Etafak had around 600 people watching recently. So yeah, it's not exactly hit the heights that they might have been hoping, but you know, it's a work in progress. We keep getting told. I think it's 2034 their project in terms of what they're looking to achieve. So again, it's not the finished article. Yeah, let's put it that way. John Sommers asked, hi Dan, ideal transfer signings for us. Personally, in this window, I'd be looking at Inacio. I think Inacio makes so much sense for the short and long term for Liverpool Football Club. And still, I would like to see us sign a DM, because I really like McAllister. I really like Wataru Endo. I don't think either of them are the long-term answer to being our DM. Now, the only other option in this is Stefan Bajcetic, but it's been that long since I've seen him play football. I don't know what him playing football again looks like, and will he ever be able to sort of have a clean bill of health? Who knows? And also, we're going to lose Thiago in the summer anyway, so go and sign one. That would be my take on it, personally. And again, a guy I've spoken about millions of times, and I'll say it again, it will be Andre, because I think he sits perfectly between Alexis McAllister and Wataru Endo in terms of what he offers. He's got the passing range and the technique of similar to McAllister, and he's got that tenacity and that tackling, that ball winning ability of Wataru Endo. So he's like the perfect hybrid of the two, which I think perfectly suits Liverpool and Jurgen Klopp's midfield right now. Anyway, Iggy asks, what's with Thiago and Bajcetic? Will they be ready for February? I'm hoping they'll be ready earlier, to be honest with you. It's the Bajcetic one, I don't know which one's more frustrating, actually, to be fair. Potentially the Bajcetic one, because he's so young and he's clearly so talented that you are just desperate to see him play footy again, because I think we were all taken aback by just how quickly he developed into a key player for Liverpool last season. Like, he was one of the stars of last season in what was a pretty pitiful campaign, all told. He was brilliant. So it's annoying the fact he's just been held back so much by injuries. And obviously we've seen him in Austria play right back, which was interesting. And I wonder whether there's a little bit of that when he gets back as well, because he can cover for Trent potentially and stop Joe Gomez doing that. Who knows? But again, yeah, he just doesn't play, does he? And there's been no update on his return either. It's just been a constant, yeah, he's frustrated. There were days whereby, the last thing Klopp said was there were days whereby he could train, but then he might not be able to train for 3 weeks. And as for Thiago, I seen Kostas Tsimikas posted a picture with Thiago in the physio room yesterday. But I think it's a hip issue that's never really going to go away. I think we just have to all cross our fingers and toes and hope we see some Thiago at some point this season, ideally for a run of games, and ideally the really big games, because I've said it all season long now. I'm getting bored of saying it myself. With Thiago, you have got the ideal luxury player. If you can drop him into games with 20, 30 minutes to go and just use him so carefully, what a weapon to have in your arsenal. Like, what a guy to have as a backup. Thiago Alcantara, been there, done it, got the t-shirt, won man the match in most of the games, an absolute wizard with a footy. And yeah, having him just sat there primed, waiting to go later on the season when it gets to the business end, frightening proposition for the rest of the league. Anyway, last couple of comments now before I start wrapping up. I did want to touch on the Nat Phillips stuff, because David Lynch of This Is Anfield said Liverpool could consider a surprise Nat Phillips retention, essentially. He could be sticking around for the second half of the season following his return from a difficult loan spell at Celtic. And inevitably, the majority of the comments said, why is he going to stick around at Liverpool when he struggled to get in the Celtic side? And ultimately, I kind of get that. He only made 8 appearances for Celtic. I spoke to a Celtic podcaster recently about his spell, and it just didn't work for him. I could go into sort of diatribes and details as to why, but he essentially said he just didn't look confident every time he took to the pitch. And when he made the move to Celtic at first, Nat Phillips, I thought, okay, he's going to thrive up there like that. That feels like a very good move. He should be one of the standout players up in the Scottish Premiership, and that's no disrespect to the Scottish Premiership. But here's a guy who's played a decent part in Liverpool getting to a top 4, decent amount of Champions League football for Liverpool. He played for Stuttgart, spent some time at Bournemouth in the Championship. Like, Celtic should be not a doddle, but he should do well up there. But he just didn't. Just hasn't worked. So he got my eye caught by this. Do I? I don't know. No, I don't know. No, my hair's completely different. You can't see it. No, I'm not sure about that. I've got a beard, which he occasionally has. But I've seen people earlier on saying we should be selling the likes of Nat Phillips, Rhys Williams and stuff like that as well. And ultimately, I kind of get it. And Nat Phillips is 26 now as well. Like, the fact that he's still being touted as a potential backup, would it be 5th option behind Joel Quansah? Like, it doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? And that's not from a Liverpool standpoint, that's from that Phillips standpoint as well. He should be well established somewhere now and playing week in, week out at a decent level and being a first choice at a good football club as a centre-back. That's what Nat Phillips should be. He shouldn't be, coming in to do a job for a few months. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting annoyed talking about it. Who is the best footballer? I'll let you decide that. Who do you think is the best footballer out of Redmen? Who do you reckon? I'm not going to comment. I think we're okay. If you watch our video on Plus when we went to the ACAS tournament, I think there's a conversation to say none of us are any good, but there were mitigating circumstances in that, and it was dead hot, and it was hard work, really, really hard work. I'll let you. Thursday Night Pint is not cancelled. It's just Europa League. I say it's not cancelled, it's just on a hiatus whilst Liverpool win the Europa League, get to Dublin, and then potentially could be back thereafter. Nigel Smith says Paul could be the best footballer. He's certainly the best goalkeeper. He is incredible in goal, like incredible. Again, that ACAS tournament, he kept us in some of them games, early doors, and he was superb. Nat Phillips is already back from loan. We haven't called him back, to be fair. He's just returned. He was always on a loan until January. So we've recalled Rhys Williams, Fabio Carvalho and Owen Beck in the past few days for various reasons. Rhys Williams wasn't playing football for Aberdeen at all. Owen Beck was definitely playing football for Dundee, but he's come back to cover a little bit because he's a left back. And Fabio Carvalho wasn't playing football for RB Leipzig, but I imagine Williams and Carvalho will go back out on loan before the end of the month. As I mentioned, that Phillips could stick around, and Owen Beck. The Owen Beck one's interesting. I spoke with somebody, a Dundee journalist actually yesterday about this, and I think Beck will play some football over the next few weeks for Liverpool, probably in the FA Cup game, potentially in the Carabao Cup game. And if he does, he can't go anywhere else. So it's either he's got to stay at Liverpool or go back to Dundee, because you can only play for 2 clubs in the space of 1 season. So that's one to keep an eye on. I think if he plays for Liverpool and then all of a sudden we don't need him, that sounds really harsh, but you know what I mean. He might have to go back to Dundee at the end of the month. Let's just see. Anyway, I think I'm going to wrap up now. People saying Chris is the best footballer. Okay. Sound. I think I'm done. Nothing else I'm missing. Okay, what about Morton and Clark? I think Bobby Clark 100% has a future at Liverpool Football Club. And it'd be interesting again to watch what he does in terms of this month, because he could well go out on loan. I really like Ben Doak, gutted about his injury. He's probably going to miss the rest of the season. I've seen somebody else mention selling Kelleher as well earlier on. Forgive me, I lost the comments. There was a lot going on at the time. Somebody said 25 million, I think, for Kelleher. You can't sell him mid-season. You just can't. In the summer, let's have a conversation about Keith Kelleher, but not now. Not for me personally. For what it's worth as well, on Owen Beck, reports from Dundee suggest he's been brilliant up there. Described to me as a younger Andy Robertson, and that's not bad, is it? But Owen Beck, I think we'll see a little bit of him in the next few weeks. I do. But I do wonder what happens thereafter. Sound. Quick recap of the news before I let you all go. Liverpool reportedly are the most interested in Gonzalo Inacio, and there is a report claiming that we've already sent our first proposal to Sporting to attempt to sign the Portuguese defender. Let's just see. And there's also a report from Football Transfers claiming that Mohamed Salah is moving closer towards potentially signing a new Liverpool contract. Let's all hope so, because then we can all forget about any interest from Saudi Arabia in signing our Egyptian king. And lastly, Liverpool are reportedly considering retaining Nat Phillips for the second half of the season to act as defensive cover. Yeah, you decide about that, whatever you choose. Thank you very, very much for getting involved. Once again, I'll let you all decide who the best football player is at Redmen TV. Until next time, take it easy.
Hey, thank you so much for checking out the content today. If you want to get your name in and amongst these wonderful people, then head to redmenplus.com. Join as a Legend tier subscriber. You're going to get free merchandise codes. You're going to get in our Discord, and you're going to get your name at the end of YouTube videos. Yes, redmenplus.com, Legend tier status.